is shining bright. I'm Bobo and Cramer, and they're bringing the heat tonight. Talking New York sports, you know what I mean. Big boys and the kings of the sea. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the pimps are loud, shaking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with the New York grit. They're rising to the top, from the Mets to the Knicks. They got all the scoop, pouring out the passion, yeah, they're leading the truth. Every episode party, grab your friends and cheer. In this podcast palace, we've got the atmosphere. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand of the lost, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with the New York grit, rising to the top, get loud. Tune in, plenty of feel electric sound. With every single word, you're never gonna frown. From the Midline Giants to the Madison Square, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, this man can get it out. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand up to loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with the New York grit. They're rising to the top, get loud. Yeah, the best in the house is where the legends play. Bobo and Cramer, leading the way. Breaking plastic slides, shout it out loud. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town. And the best in the house, we're rocking the town.
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing fine. Was just at a Brooklyn Cyclones game today. Nice little afternoon game. Unusual 11 o'clock start time, and I went. And also, I noticed something a bit unusual. I've seen t-shirts thrown into the stands at stadiums, but it's the first time I've seen. But I noticed the Cyclones be the first time I've seen socks thrown into the stands. And so I got these pair of Brooklyn Cyclones socks. They threw into the stands. Plus that a weird timing. Last Monday at a Met game, I got hit in the head with a T-shirt at a Met game.
Oh, yeah.
I got hit with a T-shirt. You probably saw a picture on Twitter. I posted a picture of me wearing the very shirt that hit me in the head.
Yes, that's very funny. What was the shirt again? What did the shirt say?
It had an image of Mr. Met.
I see.
Yeah, you could probably pull it up on my Twitter, the tweet when I said something because I thought it'd be funny to tweet it out to the 7 line that the people who design those shirts that do the giveaway, the shirts that they use for the T-shirt launch at Citi Field. I said, hey, one of your shirts, this shirt by at the 7 line hit me in the head.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. It was jokes, and they retweeted me.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Now, also, too, you been having a lot of these interactions lately at the games, as you were called up for what was it, a little trivia they had today, and I actually went out and grabbed the video. Me and you were talking about it right before we went on, so let's watch a little bit of Bobo at
this was at a Cyclones
what's the name of their ballpark now?
Maimonides Park. I believe I believe a hospital owns the naming rights to it, of all things.
Okay, so let's check it out.
All right, fans, time to direct your attention back into the stands. Things Henry's been telling you about Con Edison all game long. Now we got a lucky fan ready to play Con Edison trivia. You are correct, sir. I'm dining with my buddy Daniel and Alexis from the Search Squad, and we're going to ask Daniel a Con Edison energy efficient trivia question. If he gets it right, he's going home with a prize courtesy of Con Edison. All right, let's show him the question on the video board, please. any energy question of the game. And a big round of applause, Con Edison up on the concourse, giving out comic books all game, working hard for us. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Chucky Poo.
Oh, great job there, Bo. You knocked that one out of the park.
Yep, I did. I won this some sort of a comic book that's an advertisement for Con Edison, like it's some Green Lantern comic book. And I find this funny that a DC comic is incorporating an advertisement for a company in a real city, when, if you're familiar with DC, they usually use fictional cities. And of course Marvel uses real cities, but DC uses fictional cities. So I thought it was weird them mentioning Con Edison in a DC comic.
That is a good point, actually.
Yeah, and they gave me these sunglasses, these Cyclone sunglasses.
Oh, okay. Not too bad. Those are nice.
This little thing. I'll probably be seeing some photos and stuff wearing them. So they probably see me wearing them.
Very cool. Very cool. So you've had an exciting couple of times, the last couple of times you've gone to the games. But Dan, let's get into it right now. We got some stuff we got to get into. It was kind of a tough New York sports day yesterday. I guess unless you're a Yankee fan, the Yankees did get the W yesterday. But the Mets lost, and the Knicks unfortunately lost with a chance to clinch.
And how the fuck did my TV survive that? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And Dan, what's it called? Check your phone real quick while I'm setting this up. And Knicks lose Game 5 in Boston to the Celtics, 127-102. They hold a 3-2 series lead. This was a hard-fought game. I'm very, you really can't go too crazy with this one because the Celtics were going to come out swinging, especially in Boston. There was a lot of emotion on that side as they ended up losing one of their best players, Jayson Tatum, to a very severe injury, an injury that's even going to keep him out of the beginning of next season. So we'll talk about that right now, actually. The Celtics lost their power forward, Jayson Tatum, to a torn Achilles tendon in the final minutes of Game 4, a game in which the Knicks won at the Garden, 121-113 over the Boston Celtics, once again erasing a double-digit deficit. And unfortunately for the Celtics, Dan, they lose one of their best players, Jayson Tatum, to that Achilles tendon injury for at least 8 to 9 months. Now, they say that it's, it could have been worse, is the way they've been saying. But, Dan, I mean, look, as much as we want the Knicks to win this series and as much as we don't like the Boston Celtics, you don't really want to win it this way. It is hopefully at least going to make it a little easier for the Knicks, but they are, in a better position. But, yeah, you don't want to see a guy like Tatum go down with an injury like that.
Yeah, you don't. That is just I'm sorry. I do not want to see anyone get hurt like that. It's just tough looking at it, seeing that those injuries happen. I've seen it happen at sporting events when a player gets a really nasty injury like that. It just really hurts you. I mean, you're talking to someone who watched the 2001 Daytona 500 live when it happened.
Yeah, so, that was the Dale Earnhardt accident.
Yeah, exactly. When the tragic accident when that happened, like me and like a lot of other NASCAR fans that watched it saw that live on TV when it happened. So it's like it's not something I want to see someone get injured or anything serious like that happen, because it just gives you eerie feelings seeing it happen. And yeah, it's nothing I want to see happen. Plus that that's that kind of my heart goes out, because it's just everything, just not just to get back on the field, but everything these athletes have to go through recovering from injuries. That is no easy task. I've had friends, family who have gone through recovery from injuries. It's really it's just really tough. There's a lot of aches and pains, just everything going and everything you go through when you're recovering for the surgery, even during the part of the recovery where you're immobilized for a little bit, it's not a fun experience seeing it especially when you've seen people go through it.
Yeah, it's definitely true. This is come from a Jet fan too, who just a little bit less than 2 years ago saw Aaron Rodgers and that whole first season at least come to an end. And that's it's definitely not good when you see a guy suffer a severe injury like that. So best wishes to Jayson Tatum. I see he's in good spirits. He's been posting on Instagram and everything like that. So hopefully he comes back nice and healthy next year. But it won't be at the beginning of the season. As you can see, that 8 to 9 month means that he probably won't even be good by Christmas. This is probably more of a January type of rehab when he'd be coming back from that. So we'll have to see how quickly or not quickly he can rehab that. And man, I mean, a tough loss in Boston. And by the way, shout out to our buddy PhD hanging out with us. Thanks, buddy, for hanging out. I know he's a big Knicks fan, so I know us Knicks fans are a little down after that 127-102 loss, but let's be honest, with no Jayson Tatum, and the other good thing that the Knicks have to look at is no Kristaps Porzingis. Let's not forget, the last game that these two teams played in the regular season that Boston won in overtime, 118-117, Kristaps Porzingis was the dagger in the Knicks' heart over and over and over again. The guy had 34 points, could not be contained. He's suffering from some sort of upper respiratory illness that the Boston Celtics have not exactly been too upfront with about. But he's been a non-factor this whole series. Even in the last game, he played 12 minutes and didn't score a point. So very odd stuff from Porzingis here. But, Dan, as tough as a loss that was, and I also want to complain a little bit about the officiating, because I heard Mike Breen saying in the second half, after they gave the Celtics an incredible 18 free throws to slant the field a little bit in the third quarter yesterday, and he says, well, the Celtics only had eight free throws in the first half. Oh, they only had 8 free throws in the first half? Because the funny thing is that in the game 4 that the Knicks won, the Knicks had half of that in the first half. They had 4 free throw attempts the entire first half in game 4. And also, the first free throw attempt did not come until a minute 20 left in the half. And I'll tell you this much, it's not because the Celtics were playing textbook defense. There's contact under the Knicks net every time any of these guys are going for it, especially Karl Anthony Towns. The Celtics are battering Karl Anthony Towns the same way that the Detroit Pistons did, and it's ridiculous that it's not getting called. Now, Knicks fans couldn't really be that upset about it being up 3-1, but when you see the nonsense that happened in game 4 and how it was totally, until the Knicks took it over late and there was nothing they could really do, they completely slanted it in the favor of the Celtics yesterday, and then the Knicks eventually just collapsed and ended up losing by 25. But what do you think about the officiating in this series, Dan? Because it's been really annoying me at times.
To pick with you dumb refs. And
Wait, Dan, you cut out in the beginning there. Could you say that one more time?
I said I have a lot of problems to pick with you.
Exactly. Like the old Frank Costanza line.
Newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it. You.
Yep, exactly. And it is more emphasizing the thing I told my sister when she was little. Don't marry a zebra. Don't marry an umpire. That's what I told her.
That's great advice there, because those guys always find themselves in the middle of it somehow. And definitely in this series, it's been annoying me. But yeah, so the Knicks end up losing that game. And but all that aside, I think what the Knicks really have to do going forward here is, and this is something we've seen time and time again in this series, that and even in the first round, that the Knicks really have to tighten up their transitional defense, because how many times do we see them knock down a big shot or make a big play, and then they're celebrating on, they're celebrating their big play rather than getting back and playing defense. I was watching the game the other day with my brother-in-law, and he astutely pointed out, watch when this guy White knocks down a big shot. He was knocking him down left and right against the Knicks in Game 5. But every single time they put the camera on him, he wasn't celebrating and had a smile on his face. He was back playing defense, locked in. This is what the Knicks have to do. Now, I understand that they've never really been. This is as far as the Knicks have gone in the last quarter of a century. The Knicks have not been to the Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. So I get, it's gonna take a little bit to get that winning, championship DNA to come back to the New York Knicks. But you see that in the Boston Celtics, and that's why it makes it even more important for the Knicks to go out there and win Game 6. You cannot let this get back to Boston.
Sit out, strike first, strike hard, strike fast, no mercy.
Exactly. Taking a line from Cobra Kai. No doubt about it, Dan. I'm with you, man. And also a couple of people in our chat want to give a shout out to Lee Slater hanging out with us. Thanks for hanging out. She's liking hanging out, loving some Bobo and Cramer. And there we go there. And apparently Cracker Barrel Kid saying that you are his father. Is this true, Dan?
Nope, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I had to just check. I wasn't sure.
But believe me, I'm not.
But all right. So, yeah, man. So, what I really think too, we talked about the defense too, but Karl Anthony Towns, he's been good in this series. He's been getting a lot of rebounds. Like I said, I think he's been getting beaten up a little bit and really hasn't been getting the benefit of any whistles from these referees. But I will say, Karl Anthony Towns, the way that we saw it so many times in the regular season where you would see this offense flowing, is that Towns would just out of nowhere hit these big threes, and the Knicks would kind of have it set up in a way that puts him in the best position to hit those threes. So I think the Knicks really, really have to kind of tailor. I mean, obviously, look, Jalen Brunson's the guys that the offense is going to run through, but especially during times when Jalen's out of the game and he and Karl Anthony Towns aren't on the same floor anymore, you got to be setting it up for Karl Anthony Towns to be hitting some big shots.
Yeah, exactly. They need to continue that. They need to continue everything they did in game 4. Whatever they did in game 4, that's what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, and that winning formula has been there, right? I mean, even though they've fallen behind in these games, they've still been able to dig their way out and get the job done.
Yeah, exactly. They need to keep that up. They need to keep that up. It's there. Doing it. They got to do it. Strike while the iron's hot and freaking close this thing out and not give me such a near heart attack and not put me in a situation where I'm looking at my phone on and off when I'm in Boston on Monday.
Exactly, man. But who won't be in Boston for the next game? It's gonna be the Boston Celtics in the Knicks Game 6 Friday night at the Garden, 8 p.m. Knicks hold a 3-2 series lead, Dan. So this is the big game, man. They gotta make sure you win this game because look, we saw it last year against the Pacers when the Knicks had a 3-1 lead. They lost Game 5. They lost Game 6, came home for Game 7. That was the end of things. Although, be it that Knicks team was probably wasn't as good on the high end as this Knicks team, and also definitely wasn't as healthy. So everybody was getting banged up at that point last year. But hey, biggest Knicks game in 25 years this Friday, Dan. Time to close it out.
Yeah, exactly. Close this game out. Do it so I can just go have a nice, easier rest of the weekend. if that's even a possible the rest of the week, easier rest of the weekend, because you're going to have the high intensity Subway Series, which is always a fierce rivalry, right? One of my friends from out of state described it as a college football rivalry on a larger scale.
To a certain extent, it's a good analogy, as we're going to be getting into that the big Subway Series matchup this weekend. We'll be getting that in a couple of minutes. We wrap up the Knicks talk. But yeah, Dan, definitely going to be a big weekend, and it's going to be even bigger if the Knicks come out and lose this game on Friday, because then you're going to have a Game 6 looming over our heads all weekend, and that's why we can't have that. The Knicks got to go out and get this job done. Get rid of the Celtics. They're basically hanging on by their fingernails at this point anyway, after that Tatum injury and even the Porzingis illness that he's been dealing with that has that team shorthanded. Last thing on the Knicks then too is that the Eastern Conference Finals, it's going to be if the Knicks win, it'll be Knicks Pacers in a rematch from that second round series last year we were just talking about, that the Knicks ended up losing in 7. The Knicks will have home court again, just as they did last year in the second round. So it'll be very similar looking to what we saw last year. And no, there's no chance that it could be the number 1 seed Cavaliers anymore, as the Cavaliers have been eliminated in 5 games after a phenomenal regular season from them, where they won 60-plus games and, the number 1 seed in the East. So, what are your thoughts on this Pacers rematch? And is there any part of you that's a little nervous, even though all the pressure is going to be on the Knicks now as the favorite, most likely, in this series?
I don't care if the Knicks are a heavy favorite if they get the next round. I don't want to think of the next round right now, because I just want to think of game 6. All right, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but if we're going to go that route, jump ahead, I'm just going to say I don't care if the Knicks are the heavy favorite. I'm just nervous just because it is the Knicks and all the history we've gone through. Just because of that. That's because it's the Knicks. Just because of the colors. Because I feel like teams with orange and blue do this to me all the time.
Yeah, those orange and blue teams you can never trust.
Yeah, I feel like the Mets do this to me and the Knicks do this to me.
No doubt about it, Dan. So we're gonna have a potential big rematch next round, but the main thing, Game 6 tomorrow night, Friday night, 8 p.m. Madison Square Garden. Trying to avoid Game 7 and shut the Celtics down. The Knicks have the chance to eliminate the defending NBA champions. So definitely a lot on our plate for tomorrow. And that's not it, because tomorrow it's going to get even crazier, as we got the Subway Series, as Dan mentioned too. Before we get into all that Subway Series talk, you have something you want to add that, Dan?
First, before we get further into talking the previous series, I do want to say there's gonna be an unusual thing during the Subway Series. You could see Met fans and Yankee fans hugging in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I mean, if the Knicks win, and it's definitely a possibility, no doubt about it. It would, makes for what's that saying? These alliances tend to make strange bedfellows, and that could be it.
Yeah, because you got pretty much. I feel like even though the crowd during the baseball game is going to be divided, I feel like almost a majority of the crowd are going to be Knicks fans.
Yeah, there probably should be.
And
most basketball fans in New York are Knicks fans. It's probably like 4% of people are Net fans.
Yeah, exactly. I know people in freaking Brooklyn that weren't freaking making a big deal of that when they moved the team. And they were like, nah, we didn't ask for this team. It was the owners wanted that. The owners pushed that and somehow convinced the city to get them to build the Barclays Center. So I convinced them.
That's the one thing I will never forgive James Dolan for allowing the Brooklyn Nets, the Nets, if anything, should have gone back to Long Island, where they're from their ABA days. Well, out here, everybody remembers the Long Island Nets. I live here on Long Island. I live in Nassau County. People still talk about the Long Island Nets from those ABA days. But, the Brooklyn Nets, it just makes no sense. And I'll never forgive Dolan for allowing that to happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They should have just moved to they should have just shared UBS Arena with the Islanders or something.
Would have made sense. Would have made
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all
It would
right.
have made sense. But yeah, what I was gonna say is that you're gonna see Mets fans and Yankee fans hugging at some. I hope that happens at some point because everyone's gonna be agree on that, celebrating that, and I'm gonna even screen cap the footage from that game when it happens of the celebrating.
Well, let's hope that's possible. It definitely wasn't happening in this past series where the Mets took on the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Mets ended up taking 2 out of 3 from them. But they ended up dropping the finale 4-0 at Citi Field against the Pirates yesterday. It was a weird game. It was pouring rain. One of the things that did annoy me too is that the umpires allowed Clay Holmes to pitch through that torrential downpour in the 4th or the 5th inning yesterday, and that was the inning that they really knocked Clay Holmes around. So that kind of annoyed me that the Pirates didn't have to pitch through that kind of weather because they stopped everything and then did the field and let the rain peter out. So that kind of annoyed me. But hey, look, you're gonna lose games. At least the Mets won the series. 28-16 now. Took 2 out of 3 from the Pirates. So you really can't complain. A couple of things that did kind of raise an eyebrow to me in this series, though, is I didn't like Carlos Mendoza in the Monday night game 1 of this series, going to Brazoban in the 9th inning instead of Edwin Diaz. Yeah, I get it would have been Edwin Diaz's 3rd game in a row, but Diaz likes to pitch. And not to mention, why are you using Edwin Diaz in the Sunday game when you're up by 4 runs in the 9th inning? You didn't have to use him. So then it comes around in a save situation on Monday night. You have to use Brazoban, and it blows up in your face. Now, Pete Alonso and the top of the lineup got him off the hook by winning the game in the bottom of the 9th, but it's ridiculous. It annoys me when you see guys in there. Like, so far, in the last week and a half, he's tried to use, in 3 different instances, he's used guys not named Edwin Diaz to close games. He used Ryan Stanek twice, and he used Brazoban once now. All 3 of them blew the save. So I don't want to hear any Met fans, and you hear so many Met fans, Dan, that run down Edwin Diaz. They can't wait to take a shot at the guy. Edwin Diaz is the best relief pitcher the Mets have, and they would be screwed without him. They would not have, this bullpen would completely fall apart, just as it did in 2023 without Edwin Diaz. So people have to remember that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel people can knock all they want on Edwin Diaz. There's going to be some big moments late in the season that are going to make Met fans eat their words when they see how well he's doing. Because I know without a doubt, Edwin Diaz maybe has a little shake, maybe a little bit, but he gets going down that stretch run. He is just like money, and you're gonna. There is gonna be moments that you're gonna be glad to have Edwin Diaz on the team. That's all I can tell you, Met fans, fellow Met fans. There is moments that you are gonna be glad to have him on the team, without a doubt. If anything, if we're gonna get to the promised land, there is gonna be some big moments that are gonna happen. There's gonna be some big moments from Edwin Diaz, and you need to apologize for what you said. Just like you did last year when Pete Alonso struggled. You were all apologizing. Gonna have to do that again.
Yeah, it's true. And, the one thing, I didn't think of this, so I can't take credit for it, but it is 100% true. I believe Evan Roberts said this at one point on WFAN, or maybe even his Rico Bronya podcast, which if you're a Met fan, check out. Always a fun listen. He said this, and it's 100% true. If in the next couple of years we finally reach the place that we all want as Met fans, to win that elusive world championship, the guy that's going to be on the mound getting the last out, whether we like it or not, is Edwin Diaz. So you might as well just support the guy and get behind him, because whether you like it or not, he's going to be the guy getting that last out.
Yeah, exactly. He is going to be the guy who's going to be forever live in infamy for that moment.
Yeah, Just like even our theme song, we see John Wetland getting the final out of the '96 World Series. We see, Jesse Orosco getting the final out of the '86 World Series. That in this situation would be Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. I hope at the end of this year we have to update some of the clips we use in our intro. Let's put it this way.
Let's hope you're right about that, my friend. I also want to get your opinion, Dan, on and this is part of the thing. I think Carlos Mendoza is a very good manager. I like him a lot, but I think he's been trying to get too cute lately. And you see yesterday, oh gee, what a shock! The Mets get shut out, and it looks like a complete shell of the offense. And who wasn't in the lineup yesterday? For the first time as a New York Met, Juan Soto. Now look, I'm not saying that Juan Soto has to go out there and play every single game. We know that's not going to happen. But how about they give him one of those half days off as a DH? Juan Soto's 26 years old. You don't have to give him scheduled off days in the middle of May. Maybe in July. I get it. In July, when we've got almost 100 games under our belt and it's 95 degrees out every day, I get it. But in May, I don't get that.
I don't get it too. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Well, why? I looked at the lineup. At first, I thought, why is it? Because we all know what the first draw conclusions we see the lineup, and we notice that, and then we're seeing that it's an off day, but still, like, what the fuck? Why you have to do that? Why'd you have to do that? Why'd you do that? And I think it's a poor excuse, especially the fact you had an off day today.
Yep.
You had an off day today, so it's like you really didn't need to do that. Maybe you could do that. Maybe if the team's up by a lot of runs in a blowout, that it's all but assured to win. Maybe you could do that. Maybe give him the rest of the game off, but not this. Not this.
Yeah, and I would even understand it more if the Mets were on the road. Like let's say the Mets were in Milwaukee or whatever, and they had to come home and everything, and I guess with the travel, for some reason, to me, it would be a little bit more understandable if they were on the road or something like that. But they're at home, and they're going to have a road game the next day, on Friday. But it's at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. They don't get to travel anywhere. So I don't. The whole thing. Look, and even though, like we said, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't mean anything because they still took 2 out of 3 and whatever. It's a game in mid-May that we're going to forget about, but. It is annoying when you could have gone for the sweep and Juan Soto's not in the lineup,
Yeah, exactly. I just feel they need to go for every win as possible, not take this for granted, especially with this team that you got 2 teams playing on that same pace for that same, for that same pace for that number of wins, I feel like, in this division.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
And especially the fact you got multiple teams in the National League playing on the 95 win pace, that every win's important.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought was interesting too with a Mendoza lineup decision is that it looked like we had not seen Acuna in center field until last night, and he didn't start there. He ended up getting switched there later on. So that was his major league debut in center field. He played about 30 games in center field last year, and in the minor leagues, and he also played some center field in spring training earlier this year. It was just very odd to me that you start Azakar out there in right field in place of Soto when you could have just done the same thing, the same defensive alignment, but just stuck Acuna in center field because I would rather have Acuna in the lineup than Azakar anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather have Acuna, right? He's freaking having a hot bat right now. He's getting base hits. He's finally starting to come around to what we hope for.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like he has the potential to be probably one of the best leadoff type hitters we've had in a while. We haven't had a guy like this in a while that could steal bases like this.
Yeah, one of those type of guys or top of the lineup guy, because I don't think anybody's wrestling that leadoff spot away from Francisco Lindor anytime soon. But he could definitely be in that mix in the top of the lineup, no doubt about it. And the other thing, one last thing on bitching about Carlos Mendoza's lineup decisions is, yeah, I get they were facing the lefty, whatever his name is, Brian Falter yesterday. The guy only pitched 3 2/3 innings. But Brett Beatty is finally starting to hit. Brett Beatty has 4 home runs in his last starts. And his hot streak, as you can see, is keeping him in the big leagues, as it should, much like what happened last year when Mark Vientos finally put his stamp on this big league club and made sure to stay on the team for the rest of the year. What I don't understand is, Brett Beatty's finally starting to hit. Leave him in the lineup.
Yeah, another thing. Leave this guy in a lineup. He's freaking getting these. Leave the guy in a lineup. He's shown enough he could be an everyday third baseman. Give this fucking guy a shot already.
Yeah, and you're right about that too, because they've played Beatty at second, they've played Beatty at third, and he's actually been very good defensively at both positions. And as much as I like Mark Vientos, and we all do if you're a Met fan, one thing that you can knock Vientos for is his defense at third base. Brett Beatty, at least at this point right now, is a better defensive third baseman than him. So, especially with the Jesse Winker injury, it seems like all the signs right now are pointing to leave Vientos at DH, Acuna at second base. You stick McNeil in when you need to in the outfield, and he can give guys days off in the infield, and Beatty at third base. That is the thing that seems most logical to me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that's what you need to do in the mid DH or Vientos.
Yeah.
I just feel it's the best. It's the best lineup. Keep doing that, Mendoza.
Yeah, well, he didn't do it last night, so that's the thing that got under us Met fans' skin. But hopefully he keeps it up, because I got to say, Mendoza's been doing a pretty decent job of juggling it so far. But when you lose a game like that and everything, it just gets under people's skin. And also the fact that it comes before an off day, so you're thinking about it all day today, and on the same day the Knicks lose a playoff game against the Celtics. So everything was going against Mendoza in that respect.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I feel like the Mets need to do not to hold back on anything. Take 2 out of 3 from everyone. Win this series. At least take 2 out of 3.
That's all you got to do is take 2 out of 3. That'll be a .667 winning percentage. And you are correct, my friend. And one thing that's going to help them do that is that they're starting to get a little bit more healthy right now, as we got an injury update within the last couple of days. David Stern spoke with the media just a day or two ago, and Mendoza gave an update yesterday as well. Now, Sean Manaea, the Mets' presumed ace coming into this season, threw off the mound for the first time since he was shut down about mid-April, I'd say. So he's finally getting back on the mound. That's a good sign. And Frankie Montas is actually even further along. Now, we initially had said that Montas was going to be the one you could forget about because he's, he'll be back at some point, but he'll be the last guy back. That's not so much true anymore. And unless Sean Manaea really picks it up, Frankie Montas looks like he's going to beat him back to the big leagues, as they say Montas is nearing a minor league rehab stint right now. But they're expecting both of these guys back at some point in June, and that's going to be a big, big boon to that rotation, right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I expect that to be a big boom to the rotation. I feel like Sean Manaea is finally getting his shot last year, and I feel like he can keep that up. Hopefully, I'm hopeful he'll be able to keep that up once he gets going. I know his first couple starts are going to be maybe short stints, but I feel like if he needs to get here enough time, as long as he returns from this injury early enough to build himself up, that he'll be ready to handle the workload come the stretch run. He'll be fine.
Yeah, well, the good thing too, Dan, is that right now there's no need to necessarily rush these guys back to the big leagues as much as we want to see them back. And you know what? The more I see guys like Griffin Canning and even Tyler McGill succeeding, it makes me excited to see what the Mets pitching lab can get out of a guy like Frankie Montas, who we all really don't expect that much of. But to be honest, we didn't expect much out of Luis Severino last year. We didn't expect much out of although I think Manaea was kind of in a different category because me and you actually were kind of positive when they signed Manaea last year, as opposed to our thoughts on Griffin Canning and Luis Severino. But hey, those guys have worked out just as well. Griffin Canning has been great. We're going to talk about him in a sec as he's lined up to face the Yankees this weekend too. But yeah, definitely big man. And like I was saying, there's no need to rush these guys right now because as we stand right now on May 15th, the New York Mets still own the best starting pitching ERA in baseball, even after their tough game yesterday with Clay Holmes, 2.74 for the season. So that's something that you can be proud of and hope the Mets keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that up. Keep going, and I expect big things from this Mets pitching rotation, and I know it's gonna wait weird, but David Stearns really needs to he can't be complacent with the pitching that we got now because I feel like the way it's shaping up that's gonna be a big thing that's gonna be the denominator on the outcome of the season. I feel like is pitching. Never have enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's you hit the nail right in the head, man. You could never have enough pitching. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if a guy's going to get hurt. Like I'm sure the Yankees coming into this year never thought in a million years that Garrett Cole would need Tommy John surgery, and here we are. So it's definitely a big thing for them, and yeah, it always comes down to that kind of stuff, man. Also, want to give a shout out to our buddy disabled officer hanging out in the chat with us right here. Thanks, disabled officer. Hope you're doing well. This guy, he's one of our great supporters. Always comments on our stuff there. So shout out to him. And Dan, also too, let's keep it going here with the Yankees before we turn our attention to the pitching matchups for this weekend at Yankee Stadium. I do want to say the Yankees coming off a nice series victory too. It was a tie game in the 8th inning when Aaron Judge hit another bomb, his 15th home run of the year, to lead the Yankees to a 3-2 win over the Mariners. Dan, as we stand here on May 15th, Aaron Judge is still batting a ridiculous 410. 410. No, you didn't have to adjust your computer or your audio settings or anything. I said 410. Aaron Judge is hitting this late in the season. Just ridiculous video game type numbers. What do you think about him coming up big in the late innings again for another clutch victory for the Yankees?
He's doing his part. It's a matter of everyone else. And I can tell you, he sure doesn't do that when I pick him on beat the streak half the time.
Yeah, when you pick him on beat the streak, it's like him in the playoffs. He can't get a hit.
Exactly. Speaking of that, it wasn't him, but some other people on beat the streak cost me because and it's even worse because I was close to getting 10 in a row, and I think this week that one of the prizes to anyone who got 10 in a row, guess what it would have been? Something I would have loved to have had. A Pete Alonso signed card.
Oh, that would have been nice. Would have been nice, especially with the way he started off the season. So that's a shame.
And I'm keeping an eye out, and hopefully, if you can help me with the guesswork of right get it early when the tickets are cheap before they jack up the prices. If you see something like you have on a hunch, like maybe maybe like something like at the rate he's doing it, if like maybe this certain date might be the date they might break the Mets all-time home run record, let me know. This way I can get the ticket. Well, this week help me get the ticket while it's cheap, because I want to be there for this, and I'm going to try to get it while it's cheap.
Very true, man.
Because I'm slowly trying to stock up on some tickets, trying to do the guesswork to figure out the right, to try to figure out this way I increase my chances of getting to be there when it happens, assuming it happens at home. That is.
That's right. It could happen on the road, so you never know.
Yeah. Exactly. And I can tell you if it does happen, if one of the road cities it happens, it is Philly. I encourage old Met fans to try to get their asses out there to make sure he has plenty of Met fans there when it happens. That's all I can tell
That's
you.
true. That's very true, Dan. So just back to the Yankees now. Aaron Judge with that and it really was a series victory. A series winning victory for the Yankees and a series winning home run for Aaron Judge as they split the first two with the Mariners. Won that game there yesterday. Mariners are a good team, as you can see, 23-19. They're kind of off to a hot and cold start, but we know it's a very good team with one of the best players in baseball and Julio Rodriguez out there in the outfield and a very, very tough starting rotation. So Yankees looking to keep their good vibes going right now as we'll take a look at how both teams are faring in their divisions right now. The Yankees lead the AL East by 4 games and have won 6 of their last 10 games. Yankees in pretty good position. They're 25-18. Obviously, the National League East is a little bit better the American League East right now, but Yankees still in first place by a comfortable margin, and the Mets are right there too. Mets leading the NL East by 2.5 games over the Phillies, also having won 6 of their last 10 games. So both teams playing good ball, man. I mean, even Carlos Mendoza said it last night when the media was trying to get his thoughts on this series going into it right now. Two very good teams playing good ball. These are 2 teams. Obviously, the Mets went to the NLCS last year. Yankees went to the World Series. So these 2 teams know how to win. And it's going to be a really fun weekend, man. Mets went 4-0 against the Yankees last year. And I was never a big fan of those 4-game midweek Subway Series matchups.
Yeah, exactly.
We're back to the way it should be, Dan. 3 at Yankee Stadium now, and then 3 in July at Citi Field, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way they need to do it from now on. Because I feel like that just works better. It just works better for the fans, I feel like. I feel like they sell more tickets that way.
Well, they definitely do. But I mean, either way,
we-
it usually goes down in the books as a sellout anyway. But I think you're right. Even if, they get the number of having the tickets sold, there are always more people in the building on the weekend, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it works better than that. Plus, that there's people that like to maybe make a quick weekend trip to New York to attend this series. There's people that make,
Yeah,
I know people who make a weekend trip to New York to attend this series.
yeah, it's a big series, man. And starting off tomorrow night, about an hour before tip-off in Game 6 for the Knicks at the Garden, just across town in the Bronx, it's going to be the New York Mets visiting the New York Yankees for the first time this season. Tyler McGill is going to be on the mound for the Mets, takes his 3-3 record with a 3.10 ERA against Carlos Rodon, who's 4-3 with a 3.29 ERA. Both these pitchers have been very similar this year. Obviously, their numbers are nearly identical, but it's very similar in the fact of where, you have Tyler McGill, who has, I think about 8 starts, and I'd say 4 of them have been very good starts, and 4 of them have been so-so starts. And I think it's the same thing with Carlos Rodon. So both teams are going to be looking to see more consistency out of these starting pitchers tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like it's going to be whoever can give up. I feel like this game's going to come out to whoever can get really key outs during the game, I feel like.
Yeah, and especially with these guys too. I mean, Rodon could go deep if he's throwing a good game, but I feel like, especially with McGill on Mets side, after the 5th or the 6th inning, it's going to be a battle of the bullpens.
Yeah, and I feel like this game is going to be. I feel like the Mets are going to win this one 5-2. It's a hunch I have. I'm not spending a shit. I'm not gambling a shit ton of mony, but I have a feeling it's going to be a 5-2 Met win. That's all I can tell. That's all I can tell you. That I hope to find a Mets win, and I just hope to mess with Dave by sending him a link that that's Life by Frank Sinatra. If for those who don't know, that's a song they play when the Yankees lose.
Very true, which I think is a good – the Yankees just started doing that too, right?
Yeah, they just started doing it. I kind of skeptical on it because I think it feels like it just becomes something that's just the norm. But I just got used to like either way. For example, I took a Yankees fan with me once to the Subway Series, right? You know, when he was a Yankee fan, right? And I just remember, regardless, I think the Mets won, but we're still arm in arm singing New York, New York.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
seem like it makes much sense, you know?
Yeah, it is like I feel like even though we're like bitter rivals, we almost did the equivalent of a hockey handshake.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's like the Mets playing like back in the New York groove after they lose. Like that just didn't make any sense, you know? Like I remember back in the day at Shea Stadium, they used to play the Jurassic Park theme after losses.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. They did that, but I don't know why. I
Yeah.
remember
Well,
that.
you know what, Dan? The way I always said about it, and it was kind of tongue in cheek, but the way that I always mentioned it to people was that the Jurassic Park song is that it it always started off. If you remember the song, it starts off really sad and slow and everything, and you know you're in your feelings about a tough loss the Mets suffered that day. But by the time the song's starting to wrap up, it's getting built up and it's speeding up and everything, and it's like there's hope for tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's what I always kind of felt like. That's what that's why the Mets used it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I was always trying to figure that one out for years back in 03. I don't know why that's a deep one. You remember that? You also remember that?
That's true. That's two guys that have spent a lot of time at Shea Stadium back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. We spent enough time. People think my home address is 41 Seaver Way. Let's put it this way.
Which, by the way, thank God that the Mets made that change too, and Tom Seaver is recognized on their official address.
Yeah, exactly. I love that they did that. I'm shocked. This book, and I'll show you this. This is a book I bought recently. You know, the little thing with the baseball, the stamp, the ballpark book.
Yeah,
and it like lists the address of there's like a little page that lists the address of the ballparks, and they've updated this. Like they have the updated page. You know that like the A's playing their, even though it's a temporary home in Sacramento. They I guess they figured it was going to be a 1-year thing, so they needed to update the Tampa thing. But let me see like it lists the address. It lists the old address here. You see this?
yes. Let's see if we can. Let's see. There we go. Yep, the old. Now, what is that official? What is that? Roosevelt Avenue? Was that the old official thing, right?
Yeah, the old address that was used also during the Shea years.
Yeah.
12 through 301 Roosevelt Avenue.
Yeah.
I'm filming. I had to yell at my mom.
No problem. No
All
problem. We're just about wrapping up anyway. So let's get to what are you gonna say, Dan?
But yeah, if you're wondering what this is like a little thing, like you know how like you see things with like a passport or like a map, you can check off the ballparks you've been to. All the old ballparks have a stamp. They actually have a stamp. And of course I had them arranged for them to get me the backtrack stamps for the ballparks they've been to, but I decided to do the City Field one in person. You see that? You see each little stamp there? You see like from each ballpark the
really
page to City Field? But you can do you see it? What the stamp looks like?
Not really.
But yeah, it's like a little stamp there. City Field, and each ballpark has one. You know, there's you usually you go to the information booth at that stadium, and they'll you could get the stamp in that little thing at the page. You know, each ballpark.
Yeah, very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah,
all right, let's keep this thing.
They tell them what to say, but yeah, I'm ready to keep going.
Yeah, let's keep it moving along here with just to get to game 2, as Subway Series game 2 is an afternoon game, which is pretty cool. Griffin Canning, the guy that me and you've been talking about, man, this guy has been phenomenal this year. 5.1, 2.36 ERA, taking on the Yankees, and Clark Schmidt in the afternoon matinee. Clark Schmidt, 1-1, 4.73 ERA. Only a couple of starts under his belt so far, as he came off the IL at the end of April when he rejoined the Yankees rotation. So that's a pretty good matchup, Dan. Two young pitchers. Griffin Canning starting to come into his own, and Clark Schmidt still trying to, get his sea legs underneath him for the season.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully they keep the Mets keep this up and get the win. I feel like game 2 is going to be a low scoring game, and it's a I'll be watching.
Yeah, no doubt
And
about
probably
it. Man.
and probably a price go down a little bit. I'll try to snag myself a little ticket.
Exactly. That'd be nice. Interesting comment just came in too. As first off, I want to throw this up there. This isn't the one I was talking about, but all right, there you go. Hopefully, you got a fan out there, buddy. And but this is the one I was talking about. Spider-Man. Can't believe we got a celebrity Spider-Man in the chat right here. Who do you guys think is the worst pro player of all time? That's a very interesting question because there's a lot of different ways you could go with that. Let's obviously baseball. I think he's talking about. What would you think, Dan? I mean, that's a question.
I don't know. I don't really have any clue who I think is the worst of all time. What I do know is I'm gonna say name a player who's caused me so many nearly destroying TVs. The guy I used to call Armando Blow Save Benitez.
It's funny, Dan, that you went for a Met closer because the first thing that popped in my head too was a Met closer, but not Armando. I don't mind Armando as much as a lot of Met fans. I didn't like John Franco. So I would say John Franco. But I guess also another Met we could throw out there is Anthony Young, who lost 27 consecutive games. So you could probably throw him out there too, right?
Yeah, he was young. I was at the game. I forgot. Was that a home game? That game that he broke the streak? I think it was at that game.
I think it was. I believe it was at Shea Stadium against the Marlins, I want to say.
I was at that game. I was at the game. He finally got a win.
Yeah, in case you're not familiar, in the early 90s, the Mets had this left-handed pitcher named Anthony Young who lost 27 consecutive decisions, which was a major league record. So you could really make the argument that he might be one of the worst of all time. And it's very interesting, Dan, that you were at the game where he ended that streak and finally got a victory.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that game. I remember being at a game where something was like that, hearing something like that was going to happen, and
yeah, very funny.
whatever my Walkman or saying when I was a kid or something like that, hearing Bob Murphy say something like that, and
yeah,
that I was at that game. What the?
So funny.
I was at Shea Stadium that year of all things. So I got to see him when he finally snapped that losing streak.
Exactly.
How wild is that?
So shout out to Spider-Man. Exactly.
Yeah, and then the other thing I realized, because I remember a lot of times at the games I had the radio feed on my Walkman. How many games I've gone to that Gary Cohen did a double out of here?
True.
Because I just realized that I'm just talking.
Yeah.
So someone's just posting a link to this past Mets clip, right? It was like Todd Pratt's birthday, and they showed that clip, that walk-off home run NLDS game 4, 1999, and yep, and when he got that home run, and then my sister just reminded me. She says, "Hey, how many games you been to that Gary Cohen's done the double out of here? You just have a knack for being at games that Gary Cohen's done a double out of here."
Very cool, man. So shout out to Spider-Man for a very good question there and bringing us down that rabbit hole. And all right, Dan, let's wrap up here with the Mets. Last thing on the Mets and Yankees Subway Series Game 3. That's the ESPN game, Sunday night baseball, the national game. It's obviously ESPN Sunday night. So it's going to be a battle of the lefties. The Southpaws going at it as the Mets send out David Peterson, who takes his 2-2 record, 3.05 ERA, going up against former Atlanta Brave Max Fried, making his first start as a Yankee against the Mets. 6-0, 1.11 ERA so far for Fried. So it could not have gone better out of the gate. It's going to be a really tough one for the Mets, Dan. But, I like Peterson, the lefty, against this Yankees lineup. And I think it's, Max Fried is really, really good. I don't want to take anything away from him. But maybe the Mets are catching him at a good time right now where they're obviously familiar with him, where a lot of American League teams really aren't. And maybe the Mets are the first team to knock him around this season on Sunday night.
Yeah, I just feel like the Mets are they're gonna keep this game. If Peterson, and he's capable of this, keeping the game close and somehow just keeping it close right there to Max Fried out of the game, especially, they have a good shot at winning this game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Mets have a good shot at winning this series too. Obviously two out of three.
And I gotta say something else about this going into the Subway Series. This is going to be a unique. Juan Soto is going into a unique circumstance for a visiting player returning to the previous team he played for that has a little history with that team. Because
it's true.
Normally it's very, like you got the home fans of that team. They're visiting, right? Their reaction, if they're going to boo him, if they're going to applaud him that first at bat, whatever they're going to do. This is a unique thing that they're going to be Yankee fans that but this is going to be a divided crowd, so there's going to be a number of Met fans in the stands.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. And the weird thing is, too, is that from what I've heard, it's going to be a little, I'm sure 90% of Yankee fans are going to be booing. But I've also heard some Yankee fans express the fact that, they don't hate Juan Soto, and they don't necessarily want to boo him. They almost want to thank him for helping them get to their first World Series since 2009 last year. It was a 15-year layoff for the Yankees out of that World Series until the Yankees appeared in the World Series last year. The last New York team to do so was the Mets in 2015 against the Kansas City Royals. So it had been a long time for New York in general, but it had been even longer for the New York Yankees, which, obviously two guys that grew up during the dynasty era of the 90s. You're not used to really seeing that for the Yankees. But, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a great matchup, and I think that some Yankee fans are going to appreciate Juan Soto tomorrow, and some Yankee fans are going to boo him out of the house. But I don't think it's going to be, because like you said too, with the Met fans in the stadium too, I don't think the boos are going to be overwhelming, but he will get booed.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not going to be overwhelming because you got a unique circumstance that you're going to have a lot of fans of the visiting team here at the stadium. So you're gonna have that, and it's gonna be one of two unique things that could happen, especially on Friday. That and the fact that Met fans and Yankee fans hugging potentially if they get an alert, if they get news on their phones that the Knicks won and are advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to see Met fans and Yankee fans hugging. I expect that. I would be doing the same thing. If there's like a Yankee fan sitting right next to me that's also a Knicks fan, and we're both getting the news that the Knicks won, we're hugging. That's all I can say.
That's right. Let's hope that New York is the city of brotherly love on Friday night when the New York Knicks take out the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, at least when that moment happens, because
although the more I'm thinking about it too, Dan, actually, the game probably isn't going to be over by the time the Met game and Yankee game's over, because it's starting an hour later, and with the pitch clock now, the game will probably be over sometime around 9:30, 10 o'clock. The Knicks game's probably going to be going till at least 10:30 or later.
Actually, before I go, I want to describe a unique situation. This is going to be similar to this. I feel like there's going to be something similar. I attended a Subway Series game It was the Friday of that Subway Series in 2015. I was sitting in the bleachers, right after the game, because the rest of the Rangers game, the first round, game 5 against Pittsburgh, 2015. I went to the bar. It was a bar near Yankee Stadium, Billy's, right? There were Met fans and Yankee fans, but there was everybody there clearly had rooting interest for the Rangers. We're rooting for the Rangers, right? We're watching that game. We caught like the end of that third quarter and the overtime when Derek Stepan. Remember when Derek Stepan scored that goal? You remember the game I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
That was a unique circumstance. There was Mets fans and Yankee fans hugging after that, seeing that when Stepan scored that goal. I saw that in that bar. It's called. I forgot if that bar is still there. I know it was called Billy's. It's a lot of Yankee. I'm sure some of you Yankee fans watching know that bar. It's near. It's one of the bars near the stadium. But I saw that overtime goal.
Yeah, that bar is still there.
Yeah, Billy's. That's where I saw the end of that game. Because of the way it timed out, I was able to catch the end of the game at that bar. After
man.
Seeing Derek Stefan's hard goal, and you see Met fans and some people wearing Yankee stuff singing along to that Rangers goal horn song. That's all I can tell you.
That's right, man. And let's hope that something like that's happening on Friday at Yankee Stadium, one way or the other. But either way, it's going to be a great weekend of New York sports, kicked off with the Subway Series and Knicks and Celtics tomorrow night. And with that, yeah.
Also, I do got to say, I am going to be in Boston on Monday. The Mets are going to be in Boston. I'm sitting with the 7-line army, a little round trip bus trip that's leaving from Flushing, doing a little round trip bus trip. If you do see me, any Met fans anyone who watches this show, and anyone, and even some people who just love watching this because they know me from the 0-8 years, say hi to me. I'll be because the bus arrives. It's gonna arrive near Fenway near a couple of hours before the gates open. Say hi to me before the game. Feel free to talk to me. Say hi. I'm always welcome to greet the fans. You're gonna have footage from that. You're gonna have footage from that trip. So definitely look forward to that.
That's right. Give a shout out to the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And with that, Dan, I think that's just about going to do it for us on this big edition of Best Seat in the House podcast, as we're previewing a great weekend in New York sports. And Dan, before we get out of here, do you have anything like to plug for yourself?
Sure. My Twitter, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo718, Bobo718DK, same username on Treads, YouTube, one word, Daniel Curlin, for all your Bobo content. And of course, subscribe to our Patreon. You get 2 weeks early access to my YouTube videos. You also get Trackside Minute, me wrapping up all the action that happened in the race. I had to do a lot of stuff, so I didn't get a chance to get around to Trackside Minute, but I'm probably gonna film it after this and your Patreon subscribers will have Trackside Minute. But you also get 2 weeks early access to my YouTube to my YouTube content. So you gotta love that early access. Plus that it's only $5 a month. Support our show and keep watching and also get the word out that these shows are live now. So you get to interact. Fans get to interact with us. Can't beat that as a deal.
That's right. And you could send messages like this if you'd like. or not. So I want to thank everybody once again for hanging out with us. Yeah, what are you going to say, Dan?
That one's a little weirded me out.
Well, who knows what that is, but that's a fan. That's a fan, one way or another. You can't pick your friends, Dan, but you can't pick your fans either. So just know that. Oh, I'm sorry, I fucked that up. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your fans. So there we go. So, all right, that's going to do it for us, everybody, here in this edition of Best Seat in the House podcast. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Like Dan said, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. So, as always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, with my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. I'll be back with you on Sunday on Patreon. Have a great weekend, and let's go Mets, and let's go Knicks.